What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Monday, August 18th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as first baseman Jake Burger was placed on the 10-day IL with a wrist sprain. He's expected to miss at least a couple of weeks with the wrist sprain, so it will be longer than the minimum 10-day stay on the IL for Jake Burger. Rowdy Tellez is expected to be on the strong side of a first base platoon with Ezekiel Duran in Burger's absence. In a corresponding move, Alejandro Osuna was recalled from the minors. He's expected to be the fourth outfielder for the Rangers moving forward. Next, we have second baseman Brendan Donovan, who was placed on the 10-day IL with a groin strain. The Cardinals attempted to avoid this move for a week, playing a man down over the weekend with Donovan trying to nurse the groin strain without going on the IL, but ultimately he will land on the IL and will miss at least the next week. Jose Fermin was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, but Thomas Sagasi is expected to see everyday playing time at second base in Donovan's absence. Lastly, we have third baseman Graham Pauley, who was placed on the 10-day IL with side tightness. It looks like Javier Sonoja will take over at the hot corner for Graham Pauley of the Marlins. Maximo Acosta was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and he's expected to be the Marlins utility infielder moving forward. In terms of transactions, first baseman Nathaniel Lowe signed with the Red Sox after being released by the Nationals a couple days ago. He's struggled this year, batting .216 with 16 homers and a steal, recording a career low 86 WRC+, but he does have the second highest isolated power of his career as he's sort of selling out for fly balls. So we'll see how that plays for the Red Sox. They've been needing a first baseman with Tristan Casas out for the season, and Lowe will take over on the strong side of a first base platoon for the Red Sox, splitting time with Abraham Toro. And our other transaction also involves a first baseman. This one is Pavin Smith, who was activated from the 10-day IL after missing quite some time with an oblique strain. He's expected to be on the strong side of a first base platoon with Tyler Locklear, but Locklear is a top prospect, was acquired from the Mariners in the Eugenio Suarez trade at the deadline. And so the Diamondbacks are likely incentivized to get Locklear playing time while he is on the roster this year, because he's going to be a big part of that team next year. So Locklear could also see time at DH to give Adrian Del Castillo a break. In terms of news, starting pitcher Bryce Miller is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL to start in Philadelphia. He's missed quite some time with elbow inflammation, and he did not look good before that injury. Obviously, you can attribute some of his struggles to that elbow inflammation, but I'm not itching to start him, especially in Philadelphia upon his return. But I'll be keeping an eye on Bryce Miller because he's somebody that in the past has proven rosterable in the majority of leagues. Next, we have relief pitcher Jose Alvarado, who is expected to be activated from the restricted list today. He missed the last 60 games after being suspended for using performance-enhancing drugs. He won't be able to pitch in the postseason, but Alvarado will be relied upon heavily by the Phillies down the stretch. I don't expect him to get saves with Yohan Duran around, but he is somebody to roster in save plus holds league because he was dope prior to the suspension. Next, we have starting pitcher Jamison Tyone, who's expected to be activated from the 15-day IL today to start versus the Brewers. He's been out with a calf strain. He'll start in the second half of that doubleheader versus the Cubs today, or versus the Brewers today. It's not a start I'm probably going to stream, but if I'm rostering him, I am activating him. Tyone was pretty dope prior to his injury. Nothing like exceptional, not Cy Young caliber, but better than Tyone has been in the past. The Brewers are a tough team to face, but Tyone is somebody who has proven pretty good. I think if I was being smart, I probably wouldn't start him, but I'm just telling you that I'm starting him in my league if that says anything for you in your leagues. Next, we have starting pitcher Shane Bieber, who's expected to be activated from the 60-day IL on Friday to make his season and Blue Jays debut against the Marlins in Miami. Bieber has missed the entire season after undergoing Tommy John surgery last year. I'm excited to see what he does here It's still uncertain how deep he's going to be able to go in that game, but Bieber is somebody to roster in all leagues because in the past, he has proven to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. And lastly, we have starting pitcher Kyle Bradish, who's on the same timeline, same path as Bieber. He's returning from Tommy John surgery, and he's expected to make his season debut sometime next week against the Red Sox. So if Bradish is available in your league, he might be somebody to go pick up because previously he had proven to also be one of the more successful pitchers in baseball. Now we'll take a look at our notable performances from Monday, a day in which we had just 12 games on the slate. One of them was postponed. We had a doubleheader between the Brewers and Cubs scheduled, but one of the games got postponed and will be made up today. Let's start things off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Jurickson Profar, who did all he could, but the Braves lost to the White Sox. He went 3 for 4 with 3 runs, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and a steal to complete the combo meal. He's up to 9 homers and 6 steals on the season now. First one traveled 378 feet at 101 miles per hour. Second one also went 101 miles per hour and traveled 397 feet. Profar spent the first few months of the season on the restricted list after being suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, but he's quickly proven that wasn't the only source of his success. Profar hasn't come close to the heights of last year's breakout campaign, but he is in the midst of the second best offensive season of his career, according to his WRC plus north of 120. Not only is Profar exhibiting the best plate discipline of his career, but he's barreling the ball as often as he did last year, 7%. However, his fly ball centric approach is likely to come back to bite him at some point, as StatCast suggests he's severely overperforming because of his lack of relative pop, as well as an inflated infield pop-up rate. Profar will offset his inevitable regression hitting atop the Braves lineup, but it may not be to the degree fantasy managers hope for due to the diminished nature of that lineup in Atlanta with Austin Riley out and Profar likely moving down the batting order upon his return, which would accommodate Ronald Acuna Jr. in the leadoff spot. Regardless, Profar is worth rostering everywhere while he's hitting like this. Next, we have first baseman C.J. Kayfus, who helped the Guardians to win in Arizona, going 2 for 3 with 2 runs, a home run, and an RBI. Was his second home run of the season and of his career, and it traveled 406 feet at 105 miles per hour. Kayfus was a relatively unheralded prospect, but he's proven to be a professional hitter beyond his years, quietly dominating the minors every season of his career, exhibiting a patient approach with great contact skills and burgeoning power. Cleveland's number 4 prospect and the number 59 prospect in baseball, Kayfus has also exhibited positional flexibility, seeing time at first base and in the corner outfield. And having already put his power on display early in his career, I'll be looking for Kayfus to get back to being patient while cutting back on the whiffs that have led to a strikeout rate north of 30%. That's likely to reduce his success moving forward. An 11% barrel rate, though, is promising, and the Guardians are always hurting for hitters, so I expect Kayfus to be a dark horse breakout candidate heading into next year. For now, I'd only be trusting him in deep 15-team leagues and AL-only leagues because of the abundance of first base option in standard leagues, as well as Kayfus's lack of a standout skill. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now I'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Paul Skenes, who helped the Pirates to win against the Blue Jays, tossing 6 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs, while walking 1 and punching out 8. He induced 16 whiffs with 33% CSW across 96 pitches, and those 16 whiffs tied him for the gallows pole as he tied for the major league lead in whiffs on Monday. Skenes didn't need anything but his fastball in this one, turning to the upper 90s heater 53% of the time for 10 whiffs and 41% CSW as he forced his way through 6 frames. Unlike in other starts, the changeup was Skenes' go-to secondary offering, producing 4 whiffs and 33% CSW as he was able to effectively locate it arm side, pairing well with his sweeper that landed glove side and returned a pair of whiffs as well as 36% CSW. There's really no reason to doubt Skenes' abilities regardless of the opponent, and with Zach Wheeler undergoing surgery yesterday, Skenes has all but wrapped up the NL Cy Young Award for himself, and of course, we're starting Skenes with the Rockies on the road up next. Next, we have Robbie Ray, who helped the Giants to win in San Diego, tossing 6 2/3 shutout innings, allowing just 3 hits and 1 walk while striking out 6. He induced 16 whiffs with 30% CSW across 105 pitches and tied with Skenes for the Gallows Pole as he led baseball with those 16 whiffs. And Ray has quietly had a great season for a disappointing Giants club, recording his first sub-3 ERA since his Cy Young winning 2021 campaign, which is extra impressive considering Ray made just 8 starts across the past 2 years due to injury. On Monday, Ray shut out the Padres into the 7th with complete control of his entire arsenal. Heaters upstairs led the way with 7 whiffs and 33% CSW. Sliders filled up the zone and avoided loud contact. Despite returning just a trio of whiffs and 20% CSW, it's really all he needs is one other pitch to return strikes, and that's what the slider did in this one. He also had changeups, which helped neutralize righties with 4 whiffs and 32% CSW. And the final key to the puzzle for Ray was a curve that constantly caught batters off guard with a called strike or whiff on half of the 8 hooks he threw. Ultimately, Ray is an auto start, so even with the Brewers up next in Milwaukee, we're still rolling him out there. And lastly, we've got Jack Flaherty, who helped the Tigers to win against the Astros, tossing 7 scoreless innings, allowing just 3 hits and 1 walk, while striking out 9. He induced 11 whiffs with 39% CSW across 90 pitches, and that earned him the King Cole as he led baseball with that 39% CSW. But it's been a tough year for Flaherty after last year's resurgence. However, the skills are still present and were on full display on Monday. Flaherty turned to his typical 3-pitch mix, taking advantage of a passive Astros lineup by filling up the zone with heat, leading to 16 called strikes for 40% CSW, while turning to his breakers for whiffs. The curve was more effective than the slider, with twice as many as the trio of whiffs that the slider returned. However, they both returned 38% CSW and led Flaherty to 7 shutout innings. He still sports an ERA north of 4.5 after this outing, and he's coming off back-to-back starts, allowing at least 5 runs. So he's clearly lacked consistency this year, but I don't think that should scare you away from starting Flaherty versus the Royals up next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Monday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Dennis Santana recorded his 8th save with a perfect ninth. Carlos Estevez pitched a perfect ninth for his 32nd and AL leading save. Scott Barlow recorded his first save of the season as he got a 4-out save, and he struck out 4 in that one. Emilio Paganis had pitched on back-to-back days, so Barlow was just filling in. Cade Smith worked around a run to record his 7th save, and lastly, Randy Rodriguez recorded his 4th save with a scoreless ninth. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Jojo Romero pitched a perfect 8th up by 2 for his 17th hold before the Cardinals broke it open in the 9th, taking away a save opportunity from whoever was coming up next. Grant Taylor pitched a scoreless 9th up by 4 for the White Sox. And lastly, Victor Vodnik pitched a perfect 9th in a tie game and earned his 4th win when the Rockies walked it off in the bottom half. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Tuesday, August 19th, the day in which we'll have a packed slate of 16 games as the Brewers and Cubs will partake in a doubleheader that was originally scheduled for yesterday. They'll do that today. My matchup of the day is Tarek Skubal versus Hunter Brown. We've got 2 guys in the hunt for the AL Cy Young Award. Skubal is probably a lock for that one, but Brown is doing his best to give Skubal a run for his money, and it will be fun to see them square off, especially for 2 playoff teams. In terms of probable starters, we've got 11 guys in the auto starts tier, so big ace day. Skubal and Brown are both in that tier. We'll also see Joe Ryan versus the A's, Christopher Sanchez versus the Mariners, and Hunter Green in Anaheim. Our probably starts tier has 4 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 6, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Michael McGreevy against the Marlins in Miami. McGreevy is not somebody who strikes out a lot of guys, but he's got really good control. So he is somebody that could produce a quality start, especially against the lowly Marlins. So that's somebody to target if you're not in need of strikeouts, but you need a win or quality start. I'd also keep an eye out for Eduardo Rodriguez versus the Guardians. It's not a scary lineup, and they'll probably load it up with righties. However, Rodriguez has proven this year that despite his ERA over 5, he's somebody that can come through from time to time as a streamer. He's already struck out over 10 batters multiple times this year, and he could do so again. I'm not giving you any promises that he's going to do so, but he could find a quality start or a win as well. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd be looking at Brewers and Cubs hitters in their doubleheader at Wrigley Field on Tuesday. The pitching matchups will be Chad Patrick versus Matthew Boyd. And in the second game, we'll see Brandon Woodruff square off against Jamison Tyone. I'll also look at Orioles and Red Sox hitters in Fenway Park. We'll see Tomoyuki Sugano square off against Walker Buehler. Neither of these guys have been exceptional this year. They've both been solid, but pitching in Fenway Park, I feel like this is a matchup where we could see an offensive explosion. And lastly, I'll be targeting Dodgers and Rockies hitters in Coors Field. Pretty self-explanatory. Best hitters ballpark in baseball. I was just there last weekend seeing the Savannah Bananas, and the ball did fly. They hit home run. So if you were doubting the Bananas offensive capabilities, they are legit. And I am also not doubting the Rockies and Dodgers offensive capabilities, even against righty Emmett Sheehan and southpaw Austin Gomber. I'll be targeting the offensive side of that game on Tuesday. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Grant Taylor has pitched on back-to-back days, but so has Jordan Leisure. So expect Steven Wilson to be the top option for the White Sox if a save arises. Cade Smith has pitched on back-to-back days, but so has Hunter Gaddis. So if they don't push Smith for a third day in a row, we could see Eric Sabrowski possibly get a save. He's definitely their third best reliever, or at least the best reliever that's likely to be available. However, he hasn't had a save this year and is a southpaw, so they may turn to Cade Smith or even Hunter Gaddis on a third day in a row. Carlos Estevez has pitched on back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4, but so has Lucas Urseg. So maybe John Schreiber gets a shot at a save, or maybe Angel Serpa. Serpa's definitely better, but he hasn't gotten a save opportunity. And same situation as Sabrowski, he is a southpaw. And lastly, Jojo Romero has pitched on back-to-back days, so expect Riley O'Brien to be the Cardinals' go-to option in the 9th inning. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.